Thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. My name is Tom Lukiski. I'm the Member of Parliament for Regina Lumsden Lake Centre. We're here today to discuss the lack of progress being made on Bill C-391, a private member's bill introduced by my colleague Candice Hoeppner, the Member of Parliament for Portage-Lisgar, which is an act to repeal the Long-Gun Registry. There have been many political maneuvers going on behind the scenes to try and squash this bill before it even gets into Parliament, and we want to shine a little light on what's happening with this bill and why we feel this is a shameful attack on a very legitimate private member's bill by members of the opposition. Joining me on the podium today is the sponsor of Bill C-91, Ms. Candice Hoeppner. Also, I have with me the Member of Parliament for Yorkton Melville, Mr. Garry Breitkreuz, and I think most of you here know Mr. Breitkreuz is undoubtedly the most knowledgeable member in this institution on the gun registry, and for the last 15 years he has been devoting much of his work to the repeal of this costly and ineffective gun registry. Finally, I have one of my colleagues from Eastern Ontario, Mr. Scott Reid, who is a member of the Subcommittee on Votability, who would be able to answer any questions you have on these political maneuvers being foisted upon this bill by members of the opposition. So without further ado, I will ask Ms. Candice Hoeppner to come forward, and I ask you all that following the presentations by these gentlemen and ladies, we will have open questions from the floor, and following that, at the conclusion of this news conference, if any of you want to do one-on-one interviews, all of the speakers will be available. Ms. Hoeppner.
Thanks, Tom. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. Last month, I introduced a private member's bill which, if passed, would end the long gun registry. The Conservative Party is committed to ending the registry, and a vast number of people in my riding, and I believe throughout Canada, support bringing an end to the wasteful and ineffective registry. My bill is a clear and straightforward piece of legislation that would end the long gun registry. As soon as I introduced the bill, I began the process of speaking with members of the opposition parties who had previously stated that they would support an end to the registry. The goal being, of course, to build support so that the bill would pass. I can tell you I have been able to build strong support thus far, with many opposition members who have come out both privately and publicly in support of Bill C-391. My sense is that given the chance to be debated and voted on with no whipped votes, this bill has a very good chance of passing. This past week, however, opposition MPs dispatched by their leadership tried and are still trying to quietly kill Bill C-391 by secretly attempting to make it non-votable. The Liberal, NDP, and Bloc members of the Subcommittee on Private Members' Business tried to meet behind closed doors to kill the bill. They tried to do so by ignoring parliamentary rules and procedures in a secret meeting while they thought no one was watching. They didn't realize that part of their meeting was public, and now we do know what they're up to. As a member of Parliament, I have a right to introduce a private member's bill, and it's also my right to have the bill debated and voted on just like any other bill. After it's debated, members of Parliament can choose to either support or reject my bill. That's their right as well. However, these opposition members and their leaders don't have the right to ignore the rules and hijack this bill before it even has a chance to come to the House. I call on the members of this committee to explain their actions and to stop hiding. Now is not the time for these types of games and dirty tricks. Many Canadians, including farmers, hunters, sport shooters, and rural Canadians, are counting on us to take action and end the long gun registry. And members of Parliament need to stand up and be counted on the issue of this ineffective Liberal boondoggle. I'm hopeful that the members who support the repeal of the long gun registry will encourage their colleagues and pressure their leadership to allow C-391 to come to the floor of the House, so that all members can have a thorough public debate and a free vote once and for all on the long gun registry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candice. And now, as stated, I will ask Mr. Garry Breitkreuz to come forward with a few comments. Garry?
Thank you very much, Tom. And I've been tracking the long gun registry for 15 years now and was instrumental in exposing it as one of the biggest cost overruns of any government program, more than 500 times over budget. In fact, the Auditor General herself confirmed that what I was saying was true in her report back in the year 2002. The current estimation is that it already has cost $2 billion. The bottom line is that it is not cost-effective in reducing crime, and that's why Canadians want to see it scrapped. I believe we have the majority of MPs agreeing with my colleague, the Member of Parliament for Portage-Lisgar, Manitoba, Candice Hoeppner, and me that the Long Gun Registry should go. Back in February of this year, I introduced a private member's bill, C-391, in an effort to get rid of the Long Gun Registry once and for all, and to implement some other cost-saving measures and housekeeping items. However, those additional items beyond scrapping the registry didn't sit well with some MPs, and it became clear that my bill would not pass. Thankfully, Candice came along and introduced a private member's bill, C-391, that does one thing and one thing only, and that is to scrap the Long Gun Registry. Since the introduction of Candice's bill last month, I've tried to withdraw Bill C-301, but the other parties have refused to allow me to do so. Therefore, I chose to let C-301 die on the order paper. What's more upsetting to me is that opposition parties are trying to kill my colleague's bill, C-391, in the back rooms of Parliament, in a secret meeting when we believe it has majority support in the House of Commons. I'm here today to expose this hidden agenda to kill the bill scrapping the Long Gun Registry. Canadians should ask their MPs, why are they supporting this undemocratic maneuver? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Garry. Both Candice and Garry had made several references to a backroom attempt to try and squash this bill, to kill it before it came to the light of day. Mr. Scott Reid is a member of the Subcommittee on Votability and has been privy to some of those conversations. I've asked Mr. Reid to come forward now and give a brief description of some of the maneuvers the opposition parties have been attempting. Scott?
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I should advise, just give a little background here. I've been a member of the Subcommittee on the Votability of Private Members' Business now for a number of years, and normally its meetings are held in camera. So I can't get into details of what normally happens, but I can tell you that this bill is the first one that I have ever seen the opposition or a group of MPs in the party seeking to kill when there is no procedural basis or indeed the pretense of a procedural basis for so doing. The meeting of the committee that took place on June 15th took place not in camera but in public. And so there is a record and a transcript of what was said at that meeting. And at that meeting, the members of the Bloc, the NDP, and the Liberals made it quite clear that they were there for the purpose of killing the bill. They simply weren't concerned as to whether or not there was a procedural basis for objecting to making the bill votable. And it was abundantly clear to me, indeed I stated this in the meeting, that the purpose here was to kill a bill precisely because they knew it would have majority support in the House of Commons. That is not merely undemocratic, it's also a breach of the standing orders, and therefore the House leadership that has advised the members of the subcommittee to act that way is in a flagrant and a continuing breach of the standing orders and needs to reverse its course. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. I hope that all three speakers have shone some light on exactly what's happening with this bill.